to America is be true to what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, hunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant, my truth always denied. My history is shrouded in a spider web of lies. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read. Of the freedom of press, somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
How can I pledge allegiance to a country built on lies? Or raise my children to believe they're equal in its eyes? My leaders are assassinated for speaking their mind. So justice never tilts my way. I thought that she was blind. Isn't this...
Welcome back to At the Round Table with MAMLEO, sponsored by The Money Store. For all your mortgage needs, give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. Again, MAMLEO, sponsored by The Money Store. Give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. We've got to bring Corey back on now that the feds are talking about teasing the interest rate, whether it's going to be 0.25% or 0.5%.
It probably should be 0.5%, to be honest with you, because it's long and common.
Yeah, it really is. And
Yeah.
it's really, it hasn't slowed down the housing market, but it's affected it because people can't buy, and maybe that was their intention. But, you know, people, like I said, the cost of houses today, even at the low rates they are now, they're less than 10%. But when a house is costing you almost $1 million here in the city of Boston, it's beyond.
It's still beyond reach.
Absolutely. So, well, folks, we're going to get to the national elections here. So, you know, the Orange Man, he's declining in the
Agent Orange.
Agent Orange. I like that. And he's also declining in his mental cognitive. He has been for quite some time. You know, he basically yesterday, you know, I would have put in my resignation. I don't know if you saw his. I don't even listen to them anymore. They're a little clip of his so-called press conference. A press conference means you're going to take questions from the media, which he did not. But also, his lawyers were standing behind him when he said, you know, he was not pleased with that. You know, he thinks that people can do things like him and break the law. Like they have all the lawyers who have gone above and beyond to please him are disbarred and are facing criminal consequences.
But a comment like that is indicative of a dictator.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
the law doesn't apply to me.
Exactly.
I do what I want to do.
That's right. You know, and then people have the way, you know, I think that he should have been sentenced, you know, but you know, the judge delayed it.
I think actually the judge is waiting when it's closer to the election time, so it's fresh in people's minds. Like, this guy's a convicted felon.
Yeah, so we'll be roasting a turkey and Trump on the same. So he was asked a question yesterday. I'm going to play it for you folks, and you tell me what this. Let's see if we can get it here.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation.
People start applauding that. Exactly.
They applaud that.
They don't care. As long as he says, as soon as he makes the tag phrase "Make America Great Again," they're like, "That's all.
Right.
That's all they want to hear."
So,
they don't care what he says.
What was the question?
What are you going to do about child care?
Okay.
And what is the specific policy you're going to put in place to deal with it?
And he talked about Bianca and Marco Rubio.
Yes.
Neither one of them are involved in this campaign. His daughter Ivanka didn't want no part of this second round of this foolishness. They stole enough money. They've got enough money. Her and her husband, right, with the Saudi Arabia. So they want to do the right thing for themselves and their family is lay low, right? They want no part of this. And this is the person, the Republicans. This is what shockingly, Liz Cheney came out and endorsed and said she's going to vote for Kamala Harris. And now Dick Cheney, who I have nothing in common with either one of them.
Not politically.
No. And it's not a profile in courage to do the right thing. Yeah. And what they're doing here is saying that if these so-called fake, now that to me says that you care more about the country than party, right? When you are deeply rooted Republicans, conservative as conservative can be, and you're stepping up and saying that I am going to do what's in the best interest of this country. Because in 4 years, if Kamala Harris becomes the president and they don't agree on policy, they can find someone to run against her. But when a dictator takes over, ask Russia and North Korea.
No one runs against them. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're
eliminated.
Trump said this: if they vote this time, that'll be the last time they'll have to vote.
Yeah. That's what he did say.
You have to listen.
He's been quoted.
You have to listen to him.
Right.
You have to listen to what he's saying. I agree with that.
So you hear all these incoherent. And yesterday he basically confessed and said, that he wouldn't have molested that woman because Eugene Carroll, because she was not his type.
Right. Yes.
But if she were, maybe I would have done.
What he said on that bus in the Access Hollywood tape, right?
Yeah.
Where
grab
if you're
everybody.
a celebrity, you can grab them and do whatever you want to them. And then I just, like I said, because a lot of the rich people, and sadly there are a lot of folks who are not well educated and I think lost all their faculty, who don't understand that Donald Trump is looking out for himself and people like him in the economic way, right? That's why a lot of these folks are a blind eye holding their nose, not that they're in love with Donald Trump, but these tax cuts that are about to expire, in which if you're a person who owns a home, you're paying more than these billionaires in taxes.
Or if I looked at my accountant said to me, hey, listen, you got to do something with this money because the government's going to take a quarter of your retirement.
Exactly.
I mean, like a quarter of it,
right?
I see, and that's the thing is that everything is resting on the middle class,
right?
And so I agree with what Kamala Harris is saying. Why not share the burden of? I'm not saying that the government should not be funded, but it should be. We all should pay our share.
Well, Elon Musk, who he's talking about putting him in charge of something that he's probably not even qualified for because he's donating money to his campaign, is the richest man in the world, right? How much money does one person need, right? when the people that are making the cars, the people that are out there on the front line,
starving.
Exactly.
Starving.
Nowhere near. I mean, how many billions of dollars? It's all about power, right? I mean, like Trump, he's capitalized on. He was broke before he became president. He ran so he could get his profile.
Well, no, he was broke, and then when they gave him the show The Apprentice, that's what saved him, and that's what gave him the presidency. So I really blame NBC and the media for actually making this.
But not only that, to your point, Rhodes. Here's a man that has everything he has touched has been in bankruptcy.
Yes.
His airlines, his water,
steaks, his waters, alcohol, whatever. Yes.
So where's the connection with him being this,
exactly.
this businessman, this intelligent businessman?
Well, how do you bankrupt a casino?
That's true, right? The house. That's true. I didn't think about that. I forgot about
that. Lose money on a casino?
That's true
because you're incompetent.
Yes.
But I think the other piece here too that people got to stop and think about was that he's already laying the ground for violence if he doesn't win the election.
Yes.
He's already saying, you know what, he will not say, I will accept it if I lose. He's saying, well, he's doing a world salad around at that topic because he's beginning to lay the ground for violence. And also, I just want to make sure that people understand. I was listening to a broadcast the other day where the broadcaster said that Trump was the first president in history that did not attend the inauguration of the next president, and that's not true.
No, it's not because they never attend. They always leave.
Well, actually,
they don't go to the Capitol.
Actually, there was 3 presidents before him that did what he did.
Yeah,
it was Adams, 1801.
But let's. I go ahead. I'll let you finish.
John Quincy Adams, 1826.
Yeah.
And Andrew Johnson, 1869.
Right.
They did not attend the president.
But they didn't cause an insurrection.
No, they didn't cause
that's
it. That's entirely different.
And if he didn't want to attend, that's just him being childish.
So he was the first president that did not attend and cause the insurrection.
Correct.
But he was not the first president who did not attend his upcoming president's inauguration.
Right. No, I totally agree, and that's where the ignorance of a lot of people who think that somehow their situation is going to be better. Even at their yesterday, the Fraternal Order of Police, and I've already sent them in to remove my membership with them.
I'm done with them.
Right. I mean, how they endorsed Donald Trump?
They just endorsed Donald
Trump.
Wait
a second. The guy that during the insurrection, all the police officers that got murdered and killed and injured.
That's my point. Right. That's my point.
Everyone who's a police officer who's a member should be withdrawing their membership.
Withdrawing the membership from
a convicted felon.
Yeah. But this is the other side too. How do you stand behind this guy as a police officer after what he did, what he caused?
Exactly. And he's a convicted, and he's also a rapist.
Right.
So he's a criminal, and you're endorsing him for.
But also, Dr. Bradley, because I know this has.
I'm done with that.
Yeah. I know this has to hit personally with you. What he recently did at Arlington National Cemetery.
Oh my God!
Can you please enlighten us? Because I've never served in the military. I think Pastor Hobbs, I'm not sure if you did. You did? Okay, so you gentlemen, and I want to get your take on this as well, Pastor Hobbs, because you guys deserve to speak out on this.
One of the things that you learn when you're in the military is that all give some, but some give all. That's really what I was taught when I was in Fort Dix. All will give some, but some of you will give all, especially because the time I was coming through, I was getting ready to go to Vietnam. Meaning that you can lose your life here, and that's a hollow place, man. You don't go there. It's a reason that you don't have cameras.
But also, there's laws, right?
Yeah, there's laws, policies, there are practices. You do not actually go there and show your butt on those grounds because we all, owe those people a great deal of gratitude, a great deal of respect because they gave all. What he did.
For the listeners that aren't too familiar with what he did, can you explain?
Okay. So what he did was he went to the Arlington National Cemetery, where all the military, a lot of veterans who gave their lives for this nation, gave their lives to protect the Capitol that he attacked, and he violated the policy of no video. All right, no video. because you have people who are buried there. Their family members may not want their family member stone cast upon a stream someplace. Right. So all they were asking to respect the fact that you had no video. Although he was invited by family members,
right, and that's fine,
Gold Star members, but his people came in and protested. Or I shouldn't say protested, but violated that policy.
And assaulted
and then began to assault the individual who was trying to enforce the policy.
Right.
And then he's going to say, well, everything was fine. And so as a veteran, I was appalled, I was hurt, I was disrespected, because I could have been one of those individuals who gave all.
Right. And then he used it, he claimed, that it wasn't just a video for him to memorialize, right, with them. He used it in a campaign ad.
It's politics.
Everything with the thumbs up. This was that to me, and I've never been there before. I don't know if you have.
I have.
It's a somber moment right there, right? It's a cemetery, right? It's just like when we talked about earlier, and Jamal, you said how that these young people are going and desecrating and taking tombstones off. That is very similar. I'm not talking about the military, but the comparison of disrespecting the dead, right? You don't go. Those are sacred places. You don't go to places like that and take and basically piss on their grave.
All give some, but some give all. And when you are one of those individuals who are a member of a family of someone who gave all, you got to respect that person.
Right.
And you got to respect that family. You got to respect what that person did. And he violated that. And so as a veteran, I am appalled, and I am angry with the police organization that endorsed him.
Police.
I am completely
exactly.
Total disrespect.
No, I sent him I said I will no longer be a member of this.
I'm done.
I said,
I took the decal off my car.
Right,
I'm done.
Right. In good conscience, can you support a convicted felon?
Yeah.
And not only he's a convicted felon, but someone who attacked police officers, with the commander in chief.
Our officers are dead.
Right.
The Capitol police officers, who are police officers, they lost their life because of what he incited.
But he doesn't even want to be seen with folks who, even if they, like when he was down in France, he didn't even want to be seen with wounded soldiers. I mean, this is the commander in chief.
Yeah, I just when I sit in my living room and I see police officers standing behind him, like, how can you do it?
Right.
I understand they have to protect them because that's their duty.
Exactly.
You got to separate yourself from your politics and do your job. I got that.
Right.
But I'm not going to actually stand up in uniform behind you and with a smile on my face after you cause an insurrection and where 5 of my brother and sister officers lost their lives.
Right.
I'm just not going to do it.
Exactly. Pastor Hobbs, want to hear what you think. You served this country honorably. What do you think about the former president, using the Arlington Cemetery as a backdrop for a campaign ad?
I mean, the word terrible. I mean, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the same person that held the Bible upside down and interrupted whatever was going on to be able to do that political photo op. So nothing surprised me.
And the other thing is a lot of, like yourself, Dr. Bradley, right? A lot of veterans are in law enforcement, so they, he's insulting them on both aspects, right? Because a lot of them, like I said, former military, you get a preference, and they come on this job. So there's no way you can spit on my face in that way, and I'm going to support you. I don't care what party. Like I said, this is why people say it may not move many votes, but I respect people who will stand on principle, not party. Right? I have nothing in common with the Cheneys, Liz, Dick, nothing in common with them. A lot of them who, after this, will go back if there is some type of a normal Republican Party, right? Not this kangaroo show.
Go back and support that person.
Right.
But I think a larger question, and much more important question, is why would people who are devoted to a profession and served in the military still support someone like that after he has done what he did?
Well, I think a part of it has to do with is that Trump is saying that he will give total immunity if he's a federal to law enforcement. that's what someone was saying. Okay, because now they see that the benefit of not being like him, not being held accountable, right? So he's saying that's the teaser for him. Is he says what he wants, what he thinks people want to hear.
We don't want those people as police officers. If you're going to be enforcing the laws, but you don't want to be held accountable to those same laws you're enforcing, no.
Yeah, but I think it's bigger than that. I think you're right, though. That's a part of it. I think it's bigger, and I think it's bigger because people who did not participate in that event still support him after all the horrible things that he has done, and I think the whole issue is around fear. I think that democracy is on life support in America because democracy yields a black president. It provided for the room for a black and about to yield a black female president. And so I think it's deeper. I think it's deeper because go back to when the Constitution was constructed, when the constitutional government was put together, because the Confederate policy pact was not effective enough to allow movement and commerce between the states. So they had to have an overarching government to make sure that the economy can function and no one state is attacked and so on and so forth. So you got this Constitution. So it was built by white men for white men. And so now that you have this process that have now produced this black person, it becomes more of a threat to this ideology that a white man is the only demographic that should be leading this nation. So I think that is the issue.
Yeah.
All this other stuff is revolving around that. That's just my head.
No, I think you're onto something.
Yeah. They'd rather see a convicted felon because he looks like him, as opposed to someone that's Harvard educated, that
so it's not
up to the moral and ideas of what they're supposed to be.
It's not about Harvard if the person who's educated in Harvard is covered with the wrong wrapping paper.
You don't have to raise your hand.
So the wrapping. So I know I'm not lecturing. I'm not lecturing.
But out of due respect, you know what I'm saying?
No, he was trying to fight the bug.
Because the individual who's covered in the wrong wrapping paper, the black skin, he can be educated in Harvard, but he's still actually projecting something that was antithetical to what the creators of this so-called nation.
Well, they realized I guess they realized when they should have said, white men are created equal.
I say that all the time. I said if one of them had thought literally that someday
a black person could be president,
well, not just that some would interpret the Constitution when it says all men are created equal, they would have put all Caucasian men are created equal.
All European descendant.
But again, and excluding women and people of color, because we weren't considered, and women had no rights, and black people had no rights. So they figured that was a given, right? We don't need to say what's obvious.
But see, I also will go and say that I think this is a very powerful force that's moving through our nation that we have to begin to think about, especially as people of color. How do we deal with this force? Because you have people who are willing to lay down their values, completely disregard them, to support this individual who they feel can save their position on the social caste ladder. 617-282-0685, 617-282-0685. Well, gentlemen, what do you think about this pandering that he's trying to pander to black votes, right? Because he's not trying to win by addition; he's trying to win by subtraction. Because most people pivot after the primaries. They kind of try to pivot to the middle to bring in other people, independents and folks of that nature. When he's saying, ads out now that they're trying to take your nicotine cigarettes. I don't know if you've heard that one. They're playing in the battleground states for black people. They're trying to take your nicotine cigarettes.
Your
Newports.
What do they call it? Your menthol cigarettes.
Your menthol. That's what it is. Yeah, your menthol cigarettes. Things of that nature. And it's insulting that you think that that's all that black people care about, or that he can relate to you now that he's a convicted felon.
Yeah.
Well, but look at what he's targeting, though. And if you think about it, that is in line with eradicating the Department of Education. If I eradicate the Department of Education and so-called push it down to the states, and remember that was the same argument for the Confederate slavery. It should be a state's decision. In other words, if you're in that state, you can be violated and there's no recourse. That's what he's saying to you. All right, and so if I push it down to the states, that means the rich states can provide the education and the poor states can't. Well, the poor states like Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and those states where you have what we call battleground states, I can continue to give you this nonsense of information, and you're not going to be smart enough to think through it or apply what we call today critical thinking, and so therefore I can manipulate you easily. And as long as I can get your electoral college votes, I don't care about the populist vote. See, that's the hit.
So, gentlemen, do you think that there's a revision that people are starting to wake up and see that, right? Because when they go back in history and they see the people who had no rights, women and minorities, and they're saying, do we really want to go down this road again, and trusting that men, particularly white men, control everything in this country, right? They're the only ones who have a say.
Well, I think that's why I love this, the slogan, for lack of a better term, that Kamala Harris is applying. We're not going back, because I think it's really encapsulate, if you will, that whole feeling that you want to move us back to the 1950s and beyond, And we're not going there because we have fought for these rights, and we intend to actually realize these rights. I'll give you a good example. Equal Pay Act was voted on and won in 1963. Do you think we're getting equal pay?
No.
Because what happened is you can have a law, but if you don't have the policy matching that law, you know what I mean? The law is nothing but words on paper, and you don't have the enforcement. It's just words on paper. So we're going to continue to not pay people fairly. So you have to have political policy mechanism in place to make sure that the company is paying employee E and employee Z the same amount of money.
But I think, Dr. Bradley, Rose, feel free to, you said something on this broadcast many a times that the Republicans are the dog that caught the car, right? And that in some ways, as sad as it's almost been a blessing, because a lot of times people, Republicans have always talked about wanting to roll back Roe v. Wade, right? Take away and people thought, it's codified, it will never happen. And then they caught the car. The dog caught the car. And they're starting to see the results in these states, right? Where, like Trump said, send it back to the states. And he says whatever he wants, things people want to hear, right? In the morning, he's against abortion. In the afternoon, he's for it. And so he's getting folks on both sides because he thinks that somehow whatever he's saying is staying in that room, and it's not.
Well, see, Larry, and I go back and I stand on that on that statement. The Republicans are the dog that caught the car, and now I'm saying I can't. What am I going to do with this? I can't drive it. I can't drive it. I can't consume it. Right. You know what I mean? Right. I can't deal with this. Right. All right. So what's happening here? He's gonna. This is. He's going to smooth it over because it sounds good.
Right.
Well, we're pushing it to the state. Let the state make the decision. Well, okay. But if you're the person living in a state who says that you can't have an abortion, or a state who says that if your father shipped you out there, we're going to prosecute you and your father, then what's your recourse? Right. You should have, that should be a fundamental right. Now, I'm not advocating, because I'm a man of Christ.
Right. No.
All right? I'm not advocating killing people. But what I am saying is that government should not be in my bedroom. Government should not be in my doctor's office. Government should not be.
If you're looking for smaller government, their argument is they're looking for smaller government, then get out of people's bedrooms.
I'm glad you brought that up, because historically, Republicans were supposedly the party of minimum government, right? Of a small government. And now this overreach, and to your point, Jim, when you talk about, like you said, so now I'm limited if I want rights, which states I can live in. I can't live in the United States. I can't go to Texas. I can't go to Florida. I can't go, if I want to read certain books, I can't go to certain states. The hypocrisy.
But see what's happening. So it goes right back to the fear factor. So I think a lot of people don't think about the fear factor. The fear factor is so powerful, it is actually encouraging people to drop their moral values.
Right.
The fear factor is so powerful, it is actually encouraging people not to change the whole political party.
Right.
The Republican Party today is not the Republican Party of 2 years ago.
No.
Or even 5 years ago. Because of the fact
It's
that
a cult.
It's a cult.
Yes.
Exactly. So the fear that the white male, and I'm not saying all of them.
No,
that's not what I'm saying.
no.
I'm saying that there's a fear in that demographic that they're losing their country that their forefathers created. Never mind that your financial position in the world is predicated on free slave labor. All right, your reputation, your quality, all of that come from slavery. Everything is predicated on slavery.
Do you want to say something, bro? I don't want to.
No, I was going to mention the fact that the idea that as far as like the Benjamin Franklin said, people that are willing to give up their security, they're willing to give up. There's a quote that he said, but people that are willing to give up their security,
their freedom
for security,
Yeah.
don't deserve neither.
Right. But also, do you think, gentlemen, that when Trump ran in 2016, he was running against someone who was way less popular and disliked Hillary Clinton?
But he still lost it, though. He lost the popular selection.
He lost the popular, but he was able to electoral because at that time, people who would just didn't like her either stayed home or said, I'll try something different. But he's no longer an outsider. No. He is now a former president, and we've seen his policy. We've seen how he acted to cope with COVID and other things in this country. The tax cuts for the rich people, right? And he said, hey, I took care of you guys, and they're paying him back. He's taking the grift. He's capitalizing on having been the president, the amount of money that's being spent down there in Mar-a-Lago that would not have compared to when it would not have been spent there in his hotels and stuff. So, I mean, because if you look at, and I know elections are not won by dollars, but dollars mean a lot. Kamala Harris has raised over $500 million in the month of August alone. It was $361 million compared to Trump's $131 million. His crowd sizes, which drive him crazy, are not where they were before. And Biden did something that most people, that Trump would never do, put the country before himself, right? I think that with Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney, I think there were some Republicans who were waiting for that permission slip. Mitt Romney said he's not voting for either one. That's not courage, because that's really a vote for Trump.
Exactly.
So they're saying we're not voting for Trump and we are voting for her because we can always go back and unelect her in 4 years. We can go back to our corner after this. But this is so important that every vote counts against this autocrat dictator.
Well, see, and this is what I often tell my students. The beauty about democracy is that we are allowed as a citizen to give an assessment, to take an assessment of the promises that were made to us by our politicians every 4 years. And if those are and if the assessment says you did not honor, then I can fire you.
Right.
So we do a job review. If you think about it that way, every 4 years with democracy. That doesn't happen with autocracy. Autocracy, what tends to happen if you begin to review the person's job, they kill you.
Right. Well, look at Russia.
I.e. Russia.
Right. Russia's elections are just a scam, a formality to make it seem like it's legitimate, right?
Yeah, so what we have to understand in America is that political ideology should be subpar to democracy. Right. It should not be superior to democracy. You have to. It's the democracy, and that's what I like about what Liz Cheney is doing. Now, I don't agree with her politically because I think the whole idea about raising yourself up by your boots is a fallacy in America.
Especially when she had a family who it was never an issue for her monetarily, right? Because of who her parents were, right? So she didn't have the same struggle. Looking at it from a different lens.
But the fact that she can say, I don't agree with Kamala Harris,
Right.
but I support her because I don't have to worry about my democracy.
There
under
you
her.
go. That
is the
exactly,
key.
right.
Because there are some things about Kamala Harris that I don't support.
Right.
All right. I'm gonna be very honest with you.
Right.
There are some things about Democrats that I don't support.
Right.
But under the current Republican Party, when I go to that booth every hour. Every person with an R next to it means reject. Reject.
Right.
Refuse.
I'm not going to actually vote for them because
Right.
I do not like the policy.
And
the
to,
platform.
to Liz Cheney, she took it even further. She is endorsing Allred, I think is his name, the congressman
Yes.
who's running against Ted Cruz,
Yeah.
right, who hid in the closet, right, during the insurrection.
See,
right?
but this is a big piece. This is why it's important. This is why money is important in politics in this race. Kamala Harris is raising a lot of money,
She's able to
which means that she's able to fund down ballot act.
She's already sent $30 million.
She's able to do it. On the other side, they're funding
a legal defense.
Legal defense.
Right, and chaos,
They're not funding the Ted Cruz's and things
Right.
so because when the money that he has, his daughter-in-law is paying for lawyer fees.
Right.
They're paying for submission fees as relates to challenging a particular position in court. They're paying for all those things for legal issues. So the down ballot candidates are not getting money that they would have gotten if they would have actually voted for Nikki Haley.
Right. Well, and we played it on here where Nikki Haley had said if Donald Trump and Joe Biden, he said whoever gets rid of their old candidate will win. There'll be a woman elected. It will either be her or Kamala Harris. Right.
It'll be one of the two.
And Donald Trump now looks like so what do you guys think is going to come out of this debate on Tuesday? Because the mics are going to be muted, so you're not going to hear. But Trump can't help himself. Like yesterday, I don't watch his press because it's really it used to be entertaining before, but it's no longer entertaining because the stakes are too high. It's too serious. But he can't control himself, and Dr. Bradley, you've been in the court. If you get a good prosecutor, which Kamala Harris is, she's been a DA, she's an attorney, she was an attorney general, vice president, and Donald Trump is just a child with a temper tantrum. I think she, if she knows what buttons to push.
Well, one of the things that I'm saying to myself, and I do kind of talk to myself. I don't answer myself, but I do talk to myself. Is that he's going to come in with the attitude that she's stupid.
Yeah.
And what hurts me though, what pains me when I hear black people reiterate or repeat or parrot that type of message on while they're being interviewed with that she's stupid. The woman is an attorney. She was the DA.
More educated than he is.
Exactly. Was the attorney general,
More qualified.
the district attorney, the senator, the vice president, and she was educated. She went to Howard. I mean, she has a pedigree that's out of this world.
Right.
You know what I mean? In comparison to what this guy can offer. So the fact that he would say that she's stupid.
Yes, but the funny thing is, it's like that Donald Trump did not do any of his homework. He paid people to do his homework, and he paid to pass his classes. So he didn't earn any of his degrees.
Yes. So I hope he walks in there with that attitude, because what's going to happen here is she's going to prosecute him.
Yes.
Well, she's going to prosecute him. Right.
She's going to prosecute him.
And she's going to walk out with a true bill.
That's right. She's going to true bill.
Donald Trump. Right.
You've been served.
Yeah, the people going to indict him. Right. You know what I mean? The people, because once she gets through actually prosecuting this dude, he's not gonna he's gonna fall back on the anger piece. You're stupid.
That's all he has.
That's all he has.
Right. And he's trying to lower the expectations for himself by trying to put this out there in the atmosphere that she's stupid or whatever, or that it's rigged and that the moderators are in the bag for her, which is not true. I guess as well, because he thought he was going to be running. He still sometimes he gets confused. He still thinks he's running against Joe Biden as well as Barack Obama. Right?
But see, this is the issue though. If he did not try to hang Mike Pence, he could have called Mike Pence and say, "Tell me what it was like debating her." You see what I'm saying? Because that's what I was like. Tell me what was it like? What kind of position she put you in? How do you feel? So when I begin to feel that, I have a way of responding to it. But Mike Pence find him reprehensible. So it's like Mike Pence won't even talk to him.
Also, to your point there, like he didn't even read his daily briefs. He if he doesn't get it from Fox News or one of those, he doesn't care to sit there and take it in. He doesn't have the intelligence. That's why when he didn't have a question in advance, like yesterday when they asked him the child care, his answer was all over the place. It was just, like you said, this word salad. Like, we asked you a policy question, and you come out talking about Marco Rubio and Ivanka and all this other crazy stuff, and then they applaud you for it.
Well, he doesn't understand how tariffs works. So he was talking about
it's a tax.
Tariffs going to produce all this money. No, it's not. No. It's going to end up being more expensive for you. Let me put it like I said to my grandson who asked me about this. I said, do you realize how many countries products are involved with you getting yourself ready for school every morning?
Right.
Your toothpaste, your soap, your brush, your whatever you're using. You know what I mean? So you start putting tariffs on those companies that are actually providing that extra money reverberates that down the chain to the consumer.
We saw that already with a lot of business people, I should say, gender neutral, supporting Kamala Harris because they understand the impact that this is going to have with these tariffs because it's another tax. Like you said to your grandson, we import more than we export.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because I was watching a show one time and they said, okay, what we're going to do is have you take off everything that was made in the U.S. And they had to stop when they got down to their underwear.
It's exposure.
Right. It's pornography.
The only thing made in the U.S. was you.
Right, exactly. And then you're right. And it depends if you were on vacation somewhere. Exactly.
You're brown-headed.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like people just that gullible, right? And that's the population. Because, like I said, Trump has not tried to expand his base. And even he thought after the debate with Biden, it was in cruise control because the numbers were showing in. And I think even if Biden had stayed in, it would have been closer. Because
I don't think he would have won that. I don't think Trump would have won
that.
No,
I don't either. I don't either. I think people would have said, hey, you know what?
He's old, I'd rather have
a weekend at Bernie's than a whole 4 years of Trump.
I'm telling you, like I was saying to my grandson, I don't care if Biden is old as dirt, he's better than Trump.
Anything he's better than Trump. Other than his vice president.
I would not vote for Trump under any circumstances. I just can't do it.
No. And this is what the Republican Party stuff.
That's the funniest thing was like when he first announced that he was running, he didn't expect to win, and I literally thought it was a joke.
Right?
Yeah. And then the idea that I'm like, this guy has been nothing but a publicity hound, or like going on wrestling, going on anything where he could be on
take
TV.
Him serious, right?
And I'm like. And then this is the guy that you guys are going to pick to be your leader.
Right. But I think Donald Trump is now Hillary Clinton, the person who is despised and disliked, right? And he doesn't realize that, before people knew him as a reality. They thought, because they hadn't done their homework, they thought he was this experienced businessman.
It was edited to make it look like that.
Right.
It was not.
Well, I think also what ended up happening with him was that people kind of used the rationale that, you know what, the country, a businessman need to be able to run this country. So they were able to kind of justify and sue over that's a suspicion of maybe I should not do it, that doubt. They were able to justify it by saying, well, maybe we should just go on and move forward because we need something new.
And I think to your point was when Ross Perot ran and he, people were like, you know what, he didn't get over the fence, but people were willing to try something different, right? And I think he would have been he would have been a better president than Donald Trump because he actually ran a successful company. Donald Trump's company is on one floor in a building and it's his family. Before I knew about Trump, the real Trump, I thought it was this huge company. They had tens of thousands of employees. It's just him and his family fleecing people.
Yes, that's what it is. He's a
criminal enterprise.
It's a criminal enterprise. A professional
and now,
fleecer. Because
he's out there, the chickens have come home to roost. Right? He doesn't know. He thinks he's a victim. people are held accountable in the same way. That's why I wasn't so happy with the judge in New York delaying the sentencing. And I like that Judge Chunkin said, hey, this election means absolutely nothing to this court.
It shouldn't. It should not mean anything at all because it's a separate issue.
But also, to that point, Dr. Bradley and Rose, the Supreme Court, as well as I think in this case with the judge in New York, has said that we have, this country is supposed to be no one is above the law, and everyone is supposed to be treated equal. Well, we see that
that's not the truth.
Exactly. Presidents are not kings. We don't have an exemption carve out. If you're running for a president or if you're a former president, your sentencing gets delayed. But if that was the average person, and that's all he is the average person, you would be sentenced on September 18th.
Well, yeah, but see, the thing is that, and this is something that I think people need to think about. Donald Trump has always been, throughout the entire Biden administration, pretending that he's still the president.
Yes,
I know he has been. He's receiving foreign dignitaries. Yeah. He's talking to them, which is a violation, by the way. I mean, if he starts to try to manipulate or make deals,
right, which
like,
he has,
like with
Saudi Arabia,
and Israel,
right, Netanyahu.
That's a violation of the Logan's Act.
Exactly.
The Logan Act basically said no private citizen can actually make deals on behalf of the president. Right. You know, Trump is a private citizen. Yeah. So when Netanyahu goes to Mar-a-Lago and talk to Trump, and Trump is talking about, well, don't enter into an agreement with this administration, that's a violation of the Logan's Act. Right. And he can be prosecuted for that. Right. You know, and so he's saying, oh no, I didn't do that. Well, that's not what people are hearing. And then, you know what I mean, where there's smoke, there's probably fire.
Well, that's what I was saying, who you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes, right? And that's what this is. I guess it goes back to the fundamentals of, as children, like if you had a child acting in this behavior, right, you would correct that. And yet the Republicans could not find anyone better to lead them than this individual. That speaks to that party, right? And I get it. You know, so, well, you know, people want to go in a different direction. No, this is a cult. This is not a party.
Yeah, I don't refer to it as the Republican Party. I refer to it as the Trumpian Party.
Yeah.
It's a Trumpian Party. It's not the Republican. I mean, the Liz Cheney's, that's the Republican.
Right.
You know, and I think what's going to happen, and I made this a statement before, was that there's going to be a segment of the traditional Republicans supporting a Democrat. I remember I said that because because they have seen in their, which is now the Trumpian Party, that the whole platform has changed. So it's no longer about small government. It's about Trump and what Trump wants. And so the Republican Party is no longer the party that it used to be. It's not the party of Colin Powell.
So, gentlemen, do you think that this is the beginning, and maybe some people waited because as we get closer to the election, we're starting to Cheney, like I said, a permission slip for other Republicans who are in that same category who won't commit to
they're going to have to speak up very soon. Because, again, like if you had the Fraternal Order of Police endorsing him, I can't believe, like, unions. He's an anti-union president, and how are you a union? You're going to endorse a guy that doesn't like unions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the Fraternal Order of President is a union.
No, the members are union. Not all of them, because some of these states and these have unions.
But I definitely removed my membership from the man.
And anyone who is still out there active duty, if you have a membership, again, I would rip it up. And like I said, I sent my email personally. You no longer don't send me any literature. Take me off your mailing email because I cannot support this individual who is molesting women, who has been convicted of, right?
And you are an association.
We took an oath to uphold the law,
and not to actually support someone who's breaking the law.
Right.
We lock those people up.
And I tell you, I think it has partly to do with him saying that he would give police officers immunity, and also he's saying, Dr. Bradley and Rose, he is going to pardon these criminals who've been convicted of assaulting police officers.
Well, he can do that, but he cannot outright give police officers immunity.
No.
Not under our current system. Now, when if he gets into office and he actually suspend the Constitution,
Right.
and he suspend, and in doing so, he has eradicated the legislative branch of government, then he can say, well, you know, my word is law. Then that might be a different thing. But under the current system, there's a process that has to happen in order for him to actually have
recently when he said he'll be a dictator for a day. What dictator do you know that's been a dictator for one day?
I don't, but Larry, see, you and I and people that are listening to are educated people. But if, you know, you got individuals who are not educated folks, they're like, well, you know, yeah, that can happen.
Right.
Then he can go right back into the system. Nothing's going to change. Yes, it will all change. There's a reason why Project 2025 is attacking education.
Right.
There's no question about it.
And his vice president Vance is now tied into with some Hitler fanatic guy. I mean, it's just like, but that's the book that Trump had on his nightstand. He read when he did the little reading he did was from about Hitler.
Yeah, Mein Kampf.
Right. You know, and so he wants to be a dictator. He doesn't want anyone. He's not used to people telling him no. That's why he doesn't want.
Well, did you hear about his family, his brother coming out? They did. Okay, so his brother, his older brother, was going to be an airline. He became an airline pilot and wanted nothing to do with the business. And one of his children is disabled. And
I did hear about it.
Yeah. And the fact that the matter is that they're like, he's been basically dissing that part of the family and saying you're not family because of he does not want to accept the fact that someone in his family has a disability. And again, even his own mother said he should not be president. When your mom says you shouldn't be president, I think she knows you as a character. She's known you since birth.
But let's think about what's missing in this cycle with him, right? Have you seen his daughter Ivanka, who he holds in high esteem? So I think it's something crazy with him, but that's another story. And also his wife, right?
Yeah.
Melania, right?
Nope. He got to pay her to be there.
Right. Where has she been, right? So clearly she wants no part of this.
Yeah.
She wants no part of this, right? And any person with any type of dignity and decency, how can you call yourself a Christian and hear him talk about people who come to this country trying a better life for themselves?
Jesus would have been an immigrant.
Yeah, that's true.
Jesus would have been like, I'm coming. Like, you're leaving where he was leaving from Israel, and then where he got, was this Bethlehem? Was he was born in Bethlehem?
It's the battle, man. There.
He was in
Don't get me lying. I said New York.
Nazareth.
I was going to say
Nazareth.
Nazareth.
Nazareth was seen as a place. In fact, when people said nothing good come out of Nazareth, Nazareth was like, a tough spot during that time. But he was born in Nazareth.
Okay, and then so again, like how they say history doesn't repeat itself, but it does often rhyme. Yeah. All right, so like basically, the immigrants are people here coming to save the country, but yet we're the ones like.
Well, there's folks, I
couldn't get the word out.
Right, we've got about 2 minutes, but it's just like when he said, Trump said, the immigrants are coming here taking black jobs, and somehow, we know what he's talking about. He's talking about these entry level jobs, right? And I'm not. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not, being dismissive of these people, but somehow you think we can only be in the food care and hotel.
Wait a second, didn't he just replace a black man?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Didn't he take a black job?
Kamala Harris, she said, I forget who it was. They said
Michelle Obama.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, I loved it when she said, yeah, she's gonna take, that's a black job. Yeah.
Well, the sad commentary about that is that
there are many of them, but
that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is that we still have black people who are not offended by that. We still have black people who are still supporting that.
Self-interest. They're getting paid, and that's the sad part. They're going to the highest bidder. They're getting paid to act in that way.
And the other thing too is that people are talking about the economy. I want to make sure I put this out here. And we talked about this earlier.
We've got about a minute.
You don't stop on the economy. You don't turn an aircraft carrier on a dime.
You're right.
All right. So when the economy you see today is because of the mismanagement of Trump's administration, COVID.
Same as he did with his businesses, right?
Yes.
Yep. So
That's exactly what it is.
We saw on full display. He's not interested in governing.
Yep.
He just wants to be out there. I mean, he spent more time in there doing the press conferences than being the president of the United States. You know. Pastor, what are we doing on time? We got 1 minute. Pastor, we running again?
Well, I just want again, we know where we stand as far, but I'd like to try to I'd like to try to kind of plug in a couple of things going on in the community. The 4th annual Back to School Jamboree that's happening today from 1 to 5 at 301 Columbia Road in Boston. And again, the children go there. They'll get book bags, lunches, and things of that nature, but they won't register people to vote. Okay, so we won't talk about that. And then we also have the couple other things going on during the week as well in regards to that. And so unfortunately I don't know like how to operate my phone. So I'm like, come on. And then all right, so it's not gonna let me
okay show. So it's just to that point, you get these events, there will be no shortage, there will be no bags left over, there'll be no hot dogs, no hamburgers left over, but like I said, if we have a voting table there, we will be lacking.
And that's what I was gonna my input was gonna be, when we have these events, we should have a table for registering to vote where we're educating people. That's only 50% of the issue. The other 50% is going to do it.
Oh, you will be the table least visited.
At least the table will be there.
Unless you put the hot dogs on it. All right, Pastor Hobbs, want to say happy belated birthday to you, brother. Appreciate it.
Happy birthday to you, brother.
All right, he's a young man.
Yes, he is. Look at him. Look at dapper.
He's still on the front nine, man. He's still on the front nine.
You've been listening to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. God willing, we'll be back next week, gentlemen.
And be blessed.
All right.
Amen.
It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst, and the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks.
This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer, 'cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle. So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, no, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle.